Life. I'm Amber Buto, and today's guest host is
Jake Freels.
And we are so excited to introduce you to another dear friend of the studio, a dear friend of mine, Reece, to the set today.
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, welcome to Studio One, which is nothing new to you because you have shot here and worked here a couple of times on different shoots.
Yeah.
So welcome back to the studio.
Awesome.
So, like everyone, we pretty much start with why, how did you know you were going to be in this industry? A bit about your story and kind of how you got in, what you learned along the way, and where you are now.
Cool. So it kind of started back in 2010 when I first moved to Texas. I'm actually from Riverside, California.
Oh.
So I moved to Texas in 2010, and my parents were looking for a church home. So when they're on their search for a church home, I was also looking for like a media ministry. So that's how I got into filmmaking. I started kind of live in the live production world of filmmaking.
Oh,
So
wow.
we were operating like television cameras. We had a broadcast every Sunday. It was between like 3 and 5 services that we were doing. So I started off as a volunteer there, then I went to contractor, then I went to employee. So that was like where I got the basics of like cinematography, lighting, editing. We were doing everything, social media content. And then after that, I was like, okay, I kind of like videoing. And then I started going to Houston Community College for film school. Went all the way up until like 2020, then COVID year. Then after COVID year, I kind of started freelancing, and I've been freelancing ever since. Every now and then, like when work just dries up unimaginably, I'll maybe think about getting a day job, but I try to treat getting no backup. I always do my like no backup plan policy where like just do it all the way, even if everything's going horribly wrong, just still stick with it. So I haven't had a full-time job in like 6 years. I've been freelancing longer than
Wow.
I've had a regular job.
I so love that. I really love that for the fact that I have got the pleasure of interviewing a bunch of successful athletes and things like that. And one of them, his name is Fred Whitfield. He's the 8-time world champion calf roper. And he said the same thing. He said, I never had a plan B. I never had a backup plan. Like I was going to make this work and I was going all in on it. And this is what I was going to do, you know. And I think there's just some wisdom to that, Reece.
Yeah.
I really do.
I feel like with backup plans, it's like if the going gets tough and you're like, well, I always have a contingency plan. I can like fall back on my like master's or something, or like I could go back to working this day job. And I'm like, eh. Then you start thinking about it, if like things just slightly go off, you're like, well, if I can, if this one thing I really want to do doesn't work out, I can always just go back to work at McDonald's. I'm like, no, I will choose another option. So I've had a lot of failed ideas in companies. That's why I was like, well, but no, I've kind of stuck in the general ballpark of like video and production world for the most part.
Yeah, that's really great. And it shows some grit and tenacity. I think as people, if we have an option, we'll take the option out.
Yeah.
By eliminating the option,
Yep.
you are forced to have to go, I'm going to keep searching, keep digging, keep looking,
Yeah.
Get ingenuitive to come up with an idea. Like you said, you've had multiple failed idea, which I think is also a brilliant thing too, because there is nothing you can choose to look at things as failures, or you can choose to look at them as a learning block to where you are today
Yeah.
and what you have today, and what you've done in this industry, which has been really great. I think without that mentality to try things and let them not work out, and then also say, I'm not going to choose a backup plan. I'm not going to go the safe route. I'm going to really make this work.
Yeah.
Speaks volumes, Reece, to your journey and who you are. Okay, so did you ever do it in California?
No, funny enough, I've been to California after I decided I want to do filmmaking, but while I was living out there, I wanted to be like, the traditional NASCAR driver, or like, I kind of started photography out there, but I didn't think anything much of it. I was just like, ooh, I like taking photos on like my family's DSLR, but it wasn't like, I want to do this for a living. I didn't really know that was an option, to be honest. Like, it was like,
Okay.
I know there's people that do photos, but I didn't know there was like a whole, like, you could make this a lifestyle.
Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting too, that like, I've heard this a lot with guests on the show.
Yeah.
You see the gifting early on in their life, and they didn't even really realize that it was a gift. It was just something that came so natural, whether it was, picking up a camera. A lot of it is picking up a camera or editing or animation, getting into the computers and stuff like that, all on this creative side, or if you were directing, um, setting up little mock things young, and
Yeah.
then like trying to figure out watching TV and then trying to figure out how they did it on TV.
Right.
Yeah.
Things like that at a young age, we've sat and talked to people. I think that's so great to hear. Like, it's really fascinating to hear that, like, you just did that young.
Yeah.
And then as you matured and grew up and all of that, you learned, wait a minute, I might can make $1 at this.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to, they say that 95% of kids have, they start off at 100% creativity, and the older they get, the more the system drives creativity out of us and it drives our inspiration out of us whenever we were just doing it, as kids, whatever it is, camera or drawing or whatever. But the system, the school starts telling you, well, you have to put it in the box and then keep it in the box, and the box is the only way to go forward. And so I think there's part of that too, of like, we have so much creativity in us, and I wish there was more people that fostered that, where kids could continue to flourish long term and go, hey, I see this in you. Let's draw that out a little more, because man, I think from a young age we have so much more creativity than we give
Hmm.
ourselves credit for too.
Yeah. I
I
think it
agree.
helps with my upraising also. I was homeschooled my entire life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my mother, which taught me basically everything I know, she was in love with arts. So like every semester we had some
Oh.
type of art appreciation, Black History Month, or she also like taught me cinematography in a way also because she taught me like how to make a shot list, how to do script writing.
Oh
So she
wow.
tailored to wherever my needs were.
Wow.
So if each semester I was just like, I really love photography, like, all right, we're gonna take a photography course. Here's a camera, we're gonna go on photo walks once a week and stuff like that. So she tailored my entire education to whatever my wants or needs were at the time.
Oh, I love your
So
mom.
I
Yeah.
did a lot of photography workshops as a kid also. So that kind of helped me get into video because like
Yeah.
everyone kind of starts off in photography, or at least with me that I've met. I started off taking photos and then like started like pressing the record button and I was like, oh, there's like more to just a single frame, trying to make the frames look pretty and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
kind of just naturally progressed into the video world for me.
And how to tell a story with that photo.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what is it you're capturing with that image, and why, and all of that. So that's, oh my gosh, I love your mom. That's so
She
great.
still homeschools to this day, actually. She homeschooled my brother also, and she's still like a freelance homeschool teacher, so she teaches online.
Oh
Oh
wow.
wow. That's fantastic. I say there needs to be more of that in our system where
Yeah.
everything is represented well in the school system. It's not just one way that we learn, that there's multiple ways that we learn.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few guests on here that have talked about that,
Mm.
how they learned in school and how they saw they were creative in the beginning, but it didn't really fit through the system. And then I've said, props to the moms out there that see that gift
Yeah.
in the kids. And then we've had people that didn't didn't come from homes that were supportive of the arts and what they were doing, and they were more on the I need you to be an engineer. I need
Yeah.
you to be
Right.
something structured like that, and they've really had to just. I think it also drove them to just dive into their art and prove that their art is valued and
Yeah.
has a purpose and a place today. So okay, I know you went to film school, and we love film schools. But what do you think the difference between the practicality of going out and doing some of it and film school?
So I'll give the pros of film school first, because like I said, I went to film school also for a couple years. I met my crew that I work with today, like everyone that I work with religiously. So like the three people I work with on every project, I met them all in the same like first introductory film school class. So
Oh, great.
we've basically worked. Ooh, this a lot of projects. Every project I've had my second AC on every project, my first AC on every project I've worked with. And it's kind of like a non-negotiable at this point for them. Um, so I've met a lot of core people, and I even still talk to my teachers back at film school. I'll be like, "Hey, you got any students coming up in your class that you see like they have something inside of them that they might be good for actually working in the industry?" And they're like, "Yeah, I like this person. I'll send you over the information. I'll bring them on set, see if they're actually a good fit." And like a couple of them have been really good fits, and then I kind of bring them into the rotation. I'm like, "Okay, you want to be a sound person? I have projects coming up. Hey, let's start running sound on you, and just trying to figure out what they really want to do, if this is the right avenue for them, and then." You know, go from there, and then they might hit the usual rotation and be inside the group.
Mm.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. We do something like that here at the studio too. We work with a lot of the film schools around, and we take in interns, and same thing. It's like, what do you want to do in the industry? And I try to plug them in there, kind of give them a little experience and see if it's a good fit.
Yeah,
try to foster what's in there, mold what's in there to give them to start into the industry. And we've actually got quite a few jobs from doing that, and I love it. Um, but sometimes I think people don't know where they want to fit exactly
Yeah.
until you
There's so
get
many things you can do. It's
yes,
like
Yeah.
anything that could be done in the regular world can be turned into like a film job. I realized that the other day. Like, you can be a carpenter, you can like build sets, and like, or you're on set nurse. You can like be there for when they're doing stunt actions. You don't even have to be like raised in the film where you be like, hey, I want to work in film, but I sell. Oh, cool. We need you to make a quote for this one scene. Oh, cool. I'm working in the film industry now. So
yeah,
it's just
Yeah.
so many things that you can do from a regular job. Like, my dad's an electrician, so he taught me a lot of his trade secrets as like an electrician, and then that helped me get into gaffing, so I could like make wires, I can make stingers, make BNCs. So it's like anything that can be done outside of film can also be incorporated into film.
oh wow, yeah, so true. It is so true. Like
Yep.
it's all, and there's so many facets of the film industry. I had no idea when I got into it that there were so many, like you're saying.
Yeah.
We just had a feature film shooting in our large stage, and they built an entire house inside there, like a full house. All of that had to be built.
Yeah.
All of it had to be set dressed. All of it. I mean, just the amount of people that have to touch a production is hundreds.
It
Yeah.
takes a village.
It does.
Even on the bigger ones, like the $1 million ones, it takes more than a village. It takes like a small town at that point.
It's true. It actually, in the town that you're
Yeah,
shooting
in
in,
the
it
town,
does
yeah.
take the
The
town.
town,
All
yeah.
of them have to have buy-in. And
Yeah.
And maybe more than just that town also.
yes, that's
Yep.
right. If you're moving locations and stuff like that. So okay, so the camera got you in a little bit, taking pictures, and then you had a fantastic mom. Shout to mom, and she took you on a journey of kind of introducing you to different kind of parts of the industry. We went to film industry. You had some perks of the film industry, or not film industry, sorry, film school.
Right.
And then you also are like, do you think you should have gone to film school, not gone to film school? Do you think, on your journey, what was some of your wisdom that you gained?
So I don't regret going to film school at all. I definitely took away a lot. But also at the same time that I was going to film school, I was freelancing at the same time. So the money I was making from freelance, I was using to pay for film school. So I missed a lot of classes at the same time. I was telling my teachers like, hey, I'm working on set this week, so I can't attend class or take this test. Can I get an alibi? They're like, okay, cool. We like seeing our students on set. So like, I was known as a student that was like half on set or half at school. So that was the good thing about it. But also, film school got me on my first feature film. Like, one of my teachers was making a feature film and she turned it into a class. So for 30 days, our attendance was measured by how many days we showed up on set.
Oh,
So
wow.
everyone
That's
started off a
awesome.
PA, and then you kind of found out which
Mm.
avenue inside that PA you want to be. So I became like a camera department PA. So I was like basically a third AC, helping the second AC slate or giving them the camera or like helping with them lens changes and stuff like that. So that like really cemented my love for cameras. I was like, oh yeah, camera department's where it's at. I mean, I love lighting, but like camera department was where it's at for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then you went to lighting because you've kind of done a lot of different
I
things.
started off kind of like in the videographer realm, so like I knew camera and like composition, but didn't know how to light anything that I was shooting. So I was like, I can make you look good from a composition world, but like lighting, I have no idea what I was doing. So I kind of like took the reverse route, and I was like, all right, now I need to learn lighting so I can then light my frames better. So I've been going down that route, and I don't know what happened last year, but I just started curing lights and just going to workshops and just I became like a gaffer. It felt like overnight, but apparently it's been like 2 years. I still look at my closet and I'm like, when did I start carrying so much equipment? And then it's just like, oh yeah, it's like when I started taking lighting a little bit more seriously and was like,
Mhm.
okay, like you got to see people. There's like emotion behind color science and all the different things like warm light and cool light and how
Mhm.
colors interact with each other and skin tones, what looks good on different skin tones. It gets very complex really fast.
Mhm.
It's actual physics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guys around here do such a phenomenal job with all of that. It's funny because if you move outside of these seats we're in, and when you go just like a foot over here or over there, and you try to take a picture, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Like they have it so great where we're sitting. All of that is really mastermind.
Yeah.
It's a real science to all of that and a gift to be able to see that way. But what I love about hearing in your story is you have found a way to take your gifts and talents and your passion for camera and stuff to find value in a place for you on a set. And I think that's where a lot of people don't accomplish something. That's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be an expert in this because I know every set needs really good lighting and I need to show up on set and know enough, have enough knowledge that I can at least add in or add value there. Same thing with cameras.
Right.
When you start doing that, now you've found a mainstay in any
Yeah.
set that you go to.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, my running joke is that like whenever I decide to move out to LA, I'll just start hopping on the sets as PAs and just walking around with coffees because I already dress up like I'm always on set. So I'll just find a random set in Hollywood and I'll be like, all right, cool, here's some coffee. Oh, you need some help with lighting? Let me go to the grip truck and grab you some stuff. And then I'll just weasel my way into any production I want. That's how I'm like, whenever I move out there, I'm just going to start helping people with lighting.
Yeah. Yep.
So nobody can turn down free help for lighting. They're like, hey, another person actually knows the truck, works for me.
Yeah, especially somebody that knows and is willing to get in, stay working,
Yep.
be kind, happy to do it, happy to be there.
Yep.
It's just how you work your way. And honestly, it's not really just this industry, it's really any industry that you can get
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
and add value, be kind,
Yep.
be resourceful, be helpful. You know, I don't know anybody that's like, I'm going to need you to step out of here for a little bit. You're being way too kind and helpful.
Yeah.
I
You
think
know.
people take for granted the add value part because, like,
Yeah.
that's like, I think with the bread and butter, like, if you can make a person's life easier on
Easier.
set, they will bring you back for an
Yeah.
eternity. Like, if you, like, I have a gaffer I just recently worked with on a feature that I was on, and like, I didn't have to think about lighting as much. Like, I told him, like, hey, I want it to look like this. Here's the references. And then when we flip the world, I don't want to see that, and I want this lit. And then I told him, and it just happened. I was like, oh, I'm taking you everywhere. You're not working a project without me. He's like, cool. I'm like, no, seriously. Like, whenever you're in Houston, I'm bringing you here. Like, there's non-negotiable at this point. You're
Yeah.
going to be trying to get away from me at this point.
Yeah.
But had been a while since I worked with a gaffer at that level that was similar to age range of me. So it's like, oh yeah, we're going places because it just made my life easier. He understood my style. So like the first couple of days on set are always like the roughest. Everyone's like stressed out, a lot of company changes, still figuring out the groove and the flow of everything. But he just made like my life so easy out of all the things I had to delegate and figure out on the day of. So just one less thing for me to figure out. I was like, oh yeah, that makes my life easy.
Yeah.
And I think that comes with preparation. Wouldn't you agree? Like you just said, it feels like it was overnight that I became this. But then you're like, just kidding, it's been 2 years. Those years of prepping, learning, researching, trial, error, all of that so that you can step on and add value to a set. And it's like find something that intrigues you or adds to what you already know. And then that would be adding value wherever you go.
It's a never ending learning battle. Like the moment you stop learning is kind of when you get left behind. Because like it's just so much. The way I think about it is like every film that's coming out now is somebody's best work of like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So like there's still work that hasn't come out yet that's gonna be great. But right now, like we're seeing the past technically in the
Yes.
future. It's weird if you think about it, like 'cause how long
So
films
true.
take to make.
Yeah.
It's just like I had a film recently come out. I was like, that's not my best work. And they're like, well, it just came out like a couple days ago. I'm like, yeah, but like that's like 2 years ago that I worked on it. I've
Yes.
learned so much since then. And I can't wait for the stuff that I'm working on now to come out. But like now I gotta wait for all the learning years to come up and catch up with where I feel like I'm at on my journey.
Yeah.
Yep, that is absolute truth. I mean, how long if something goes to pre-production, development really, pre-production, then before it ever hits the screen or where you can see it is years.
Yeah.
Yes.
The proper route is years.
Yeah, that's true.
This stuff could be made faster, but then you start have quality issues. But it generally takes like I feel in my world like it takes at least like 2 years for something to catch up, 2 to 3 years for like from when they started to like when it's out somewhere and it can be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I really love how you've just taken up some leadership in this and then you feel the passion to mentor others. I think that's a great trait, Reese, that we're passionate about here as well at the studio. But props to you for wanting to give back and share your knowledge. Not only do you say, I want to add value in wisdom and whatnot to a set, you're also like, hey, I'd like to take somebody along with me and, help show them and help teach them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's a really good, really, really great trait to see, and part of the reason why we loved you so much coming here. Your heart for this industry has been just really great. Your leadership that you have in it, your standard of excellence, has been really great to watch. So I definitely get the idea of, oh, that work was back then. I've just learned so much, because you strive for excellence,
Yeah.
which means you'll always be saying that in
Yeah.
this industry.
A lot of my friends tell me that because I like that's my issue. I'm not necessarily a perfectionist, but I want to get as close as possible because if I was a perfectionist, I would never get anything done. But at the same time, I want to make as much as possible so I can get all my mistakes out of the way and then learn from my mistakes. Like the film that came out recently that I was like not the proudest of. I'm like, well, I know what I did right for certain scenes. I'm like, that I'll do again. I'll transform that over to something else. But like other ones, I'm like, that didn't really work.
Yeah.
Let's maybe not do that again, or maybe improve on it. So it's definitely everything is a learning opportunity, and you know, like just never stop learning.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say to, a young kid coming up that wants to be a DP, and you gave him your top five, like these are the top five things I would ask you to do, to learn, grow, or invest in becoming a new DP?
One, thank you for being a DP. There's not enough people that want to be DPs. I've met some people that are like want to be directors, but nobody wants to be DPs these
Yes, it's
days.
so true. That is so true.
But I would say learn like ratios of lighting. It's just that's one of the things people I feel like it's kind of fell off. They're like, yeah, I could light by eye, but if you learn like certain ratios, you start seeing it in movies, and then you go from seeing it in movies to everything in life.
Mm.
Walk around outside, like, oh, the person standing next to that lamp, that's a 3-to-1 ratio or something like that. So you start seeing lighting in just everyday world. Um, Read books. Like, there's a lot of great lighting books out there by like ASC directors and stuff like that. Um, just watch movies with the sound off. Watch movies with the sound off, like just pixel peeping, just watching every frame, going back and forth, and like, how do they get that lighting there? How are they lighting such a nice wide shot? So just kind of just like diving very deep into it. I'd say rent a bunch of gear, play with everything as much as possible. Try to like get friends to loan you equipment so you can just get familiarized with everything. Get familiarized with your Reds, your Sonys, your Blackmagics, your Aries. Just like try to get your hands on as many things as possible because there's so many different cameras that exist and so many
Yeah.
different lens combinations that go.
True.
So you'll find your style because there's some
Mhm.
people I know that they'll shoot on any camera, but they request that it should be shot on like ours. Other people they're like, I don't care the lens, I just want a shot on my Arri, or I want a shot on my Red Gemini. So learn what your style is, but that's also from learning from everyone else's style.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great advice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Really, really good.
Absolutely. And then I would say, just like whenever you started in the church world, so many entertainers and photography, videography all start in the church world, believe it or not, because I mean, you got worship music, people singing all the time, then you've got to capture it, and then you got to capture the audio. I mean, there's just so many dynamics of that. And I would just say same that,
Yeah.
of your route of you see a need and go jump in there and get in a volunteer position. I think volunteering is the fastest way to
100%.
just learn because then you
Yeah.
don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to figure it out. You listen to somebody, they tell you be humble, teachable, and put yourself in a place to learn.
Yeah.
And
You can take away a lot from volunteering for sure.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
And it's your time, which your time is the most valuable thing you've got. So then use that time wisely. While you're there, pay attention to everything that's happening when you go
Yeah.
to volunteer somewhere. And maybe you want to work with the cameras, but they're not going to start you there. You may start as a PA. Start there. You
Yeah.
know, it's kind of like be humble to the fact that if you want to get in it, and that's not just this industry, it's all industries, being able to start somewhere, learn the culture, learn all facets. It's only going to make you be better at what you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it really is.
They started me off on like the shaders. So they're like, all right, you want to work on cameras? Cool. Here's how to shade cameras live. I'm like, what's shading? They're like, great. So I went from like shading to like using ProPresenter, and then from ProPresenter,
Mhm.
then like, all right, you can start working the stationary cameras and make sure it doesn't fall. I'm like, it's not gonna fall. And then went from stationary. Then I worked my way all the way to like the stage cameras, so like basically being an actual op, so being on the stage in the corner and shooting like the performances and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then kind of went to like actually directing the services from the switcher. So I like worked my way all the way up, and then I became like I guess the lead volunteer, so you can like tell the other volunteers like, all right, so here's what we're doing on this one. Here's like the list of what's happening today, and then kind of being flexible. And that's how I got to like the paid position of volunteering. So I became like a contractor,
Mm.
and that was pretty fun. Come in like
Yeah.
every couple of days, edit some stuff. They're like, hey, we need some more trending stuff to go out for a newsletter or like for social media ads. I'm like, cool, let's go film this. Here's the concept, run it by them. They're like, great, we love it. Go film it, edit it, and get it out by Sunday.
Yeah. That's really great. So the whole moral was basically to say you don't start where you want to be.
Yep.
You have to go through.
Rarely.
Yeah, rarely do you
Yeah.
start where you want to be. And I say too, though, it's kind of good because you have to work with everybody in the position, in any position that you sit on on set. You have to work with everybody else. So if you have somewhat of an understanding of what everybody's needs are and what they're trying to accomplish and have heard their lingo and what's going on, it only allows you to do better at your job.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a natural good progression to
Yeah.
take and to keep that in mind when you start to say, okay, I'm going to go and just volunteer somewhere and sit and just be a part of those conversations, be in the room, hearing it.
Yep.
And then that's also where you can add value too. Because if you've got a break, you can go help somebody in something else because you know just enough to do
Yeah.
that.
Especially as a DP, you have to literally work with everyone on set. Like, I feel like that's the most communicated job besides the director. Like, the director talks to everyone, but like, I feel like I talk to actually everyone. Like, I'll tell the production designer, I was like, that looks good, but like, hey, let's do this, or let's like fog that up so I can see this, or I'll tell audio, I was like, hey, you got 3 inches before you get into like the eye line and stuff like that. It's like you have to be able to talk to everyone in their own language also,
Yeah.
because there's
Yep.
so many different like lingo and slang on set. So it's just like you have to kind of be competent in everyone's position. Not so much to have done it, but understand
Hmm.
what the requirements is so you can like make your days and be like, okay, cool. I've done that once before. So hey, let's put that light over here. Or oh yes, that looks good, but maybe let's move the silver like this so it cheats towards camera. Everything about film is really just cheating at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
I realized that just like everything is just like cheated towards camera.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. We here at the studio created like a little pamphlet book, and it's like the shortcut terms to set just for people that are brand new. Like, do I want to get in this? I'm not sure. I'm like, yeah, go devour this book and come back because we all sound different, and I
Yep.
had no idea, and I didn't have the little cheat sheet to start off with. So we created one of those just to give away to people so they could learn some of that lingo to be on set and kind of know what people are saying, like a stinger.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, is it gonna sting me? Like,
Yeah.
it was one of those things. And
Yeah.
then it was like, nope, 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 Amber, that's gonna be over there. Wound up. I was like, oh, okay. Whew. Good thing.
I
Nobody's
know.
gonna get
There's
hurt.
such interesting names for everything. It's just like C stand, just everything has such interesting names. You're like, why? And it all makes sense at a certain point why they got their names, but like in the beginning, you're like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is it called that? Then they have to go by like, why is it C47? And like, why is it called MOS on the slate? What does that stand for? Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just so many little things, but it saves seconds, a couple of seconds when you're on set, just to be able to just say the abbreviation for it rather than like,
Yeah.
hey, let's slate it without sound. Let's just do MOS. Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
And it's universal for everybody.
Yes.
So that I feel like that's good when everyone hearing it knows that. So you're not explaining it to different people.
Yeah.
That's kind of what code really is. It's a language that is standard across the whole job.
Yeah. And you find out if somebody's supposed to be on set or not.
That is true. You
got
find
people
out
creeping around.
the green people real quick. They're like, what?
Wow, there's no tacos on that truck. A taco truck? What? No.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So, well, I really love your heart, Reese. I love everything that you're doing. You've made it to a place that lots of people are trying to reach for and get to, and your dedication and willingness to just jump in and add value has helped get you here. Your willingness to keep growing and learning. And so, if people wanted to get in contact with you or follow your journey, see what you're doing, intern with you, any of that, how would they do that?
I'm most active on Instagram. I mean, anything that has my username is probably my account because I've tried to get my username for everything, but it's Reece Moffett on all platforms. But Instagram is the one that I'm probably on right now.
The most. And your company name?
Next level content, but might go through rebranding, but that's what it's been for like the last 8 years.
Oh, well, that's exciting.
Yeah.
We'll be keeping our eye out for that. So yeah, so if y'all want to intern or follow his work, so show some support. Go follow him, and he's super great to get back to you. So I know if you reach out to him, he'll encourage you in some kind of way. He's well connected here in Houston and really kind of all over. So reach out to him, support him. We love him here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
coming on and sharing your story and giving some great advice to people that are wanting to get into the industry and start, or heck, maybe already in it and just learn something new today. So, like, go watch those movies with no sound.
Yep.
So, thanks for your time today, Jake. Thanks for coming and hanging out again
Always great.
on set. So, until next time, we'll see you on Set Life.